as predicted, said this yesterday, instead of embracing the Caitlin Clark craziness, embracing the new fans of the WNBA, that the league itself, the WNBA PA, networks in general for that matter, media, were likely just to point to, year to year, ratings are higher than they were last year for the WNBA playoffs. And, well, that's exactly what's happening. Instead of just admitting what we've all known and what is true through the last year, that the surge in viewership from college basketball when Caitlin Clark was playing at Iowa to now in the pros, it's impacted the league in a great way. But for whatever reason, there is this incompetence and this inability to just admit that. Jemele Hill is the most recent that posted this on social. Yet I keep seeing irresponsible headlines claiming the WNBA playoffs are down because of no Caitlin Clark. Would the ratings be higher if she were in it? Of course. But guess what? The finals would rate higher if it were LeBron versus Steph, or if a big market team were in the mix. So what? That's the headline. She contradicts herself in this post within the first two sentences. And yet I keep seeing the irresponsible headlines claiming the WNBA playoffs are down because of no Caitlin Clark. In the very next sentence, would the ratings be higher if she were in it? Of course.
Confirming what she was denying about or saying was irresponsible before.
But see the image that's posted through ESPN PR. Most viewed WNBA semifinal in 22 years. 929,000 viewers. You've got the peak at 1.2 million. All of that is true. We're not here arguing that ratings aren't higher year to year. But Chad, for whatever reason, no one will embrace the fact that if Caitlin Clark were still playing, it is an absolute monster of an event. And case in point, I don't know how, and this happened during the Olympics too. How has ESPN, maybe they have and we just don't know it. Maybe she doesn't want to do it. But wouldn't you want Caitlin Clark as an analyst at the desk? Have her on the broadcast in some way?
She probably would turn it down, but absolutely you'd want that.
I haven't heard a peep about that. Even though even the columnists who do nothing but cover media and the business decisions haven't heard anything about that. But yet in the NBA Finals, was it last year or the year before? It wasn't last year. The Celtics player that no one had really heard of was on the desk for ESPN and ABC.
Yeah.
This would be a no-brainer, but we don't see it because the WNBA doesn't want to embrace that. Because it'll piss off all their players, I guess.
We live in such a punch-counterpunch society that this whole division thing about Caitlin Clark deniers versus Caitlin Clark truthers and how Caitlin Clark has impacted the WNBA and how she's impacted women's basketball, and Angel Reese playing a big part in this, who throughout the year acted like, hey, I was right there. It may be 1A, but I'm 1B. Or really, it's not even 1A and 1B. It's 1 and 1. We're the same when it comes to interest in basketball. You're not the same. Yes, you contributed to a rivalry and had some big moments that people remember, but it's just not the same. And the slower people were to accept reality and admit that Caitlin Clark is a phenom, that's a terrific player, and was a huge benefit to women's college basketball, and is going to be a huge benefit to the WNBA. But no, you had deniers. Oh, she's not that good. Oh, wait till she plays WNBA defenders and their athleticism. Wait till you see that. She's just going to be a regular, normal player when she gets to the W. And then she wasn't. So then the chorus is louder on the other side. That we're trying to say how great she was all along and how she's going to help the WNBA ratings and all these things. So the longer you deny, you can't be so upset when the other side is going to be louder and have their victory lap when that happens. We're seeing the victory lap now because there was a lot of denial about, it's not going to matter that much if Caitlin Clark's in the playoffs or not. There's all these other great players. What about Asia Wilson? What about the Las Vegas Aces and their chance to repeat and yada, yada, yada? The more you say that, the louder it's going to be on the other side when people are saying, well, we told you, Caitlin Clark is the draw. Caitlin Clark is the show. Caitlin Clark is the reason everyone tunes in. And everyone kept telling people that, and the ratings show this to be true. Here's the other thing Caitlin Clark has done, though, and this is good news for the W. She's helped everyone. Because we saw the graphic. Ratings are better on ESPN in the semifinals. Best in 22 years. She's not in it. Why? Because she was in it. Because she's drawn more people to the WNBA. Do most of those people just want to watch Caitlin Clark? Yes, absolutely. Jemele Hill's even admitting it. But are people sticking around and watching a little bit more? It looks like it because the numbers are good. So she's gained and added interest in the entire league, and that's not a bad thing for the league.
There's still, but
if everyone in the beginning, Hutton, would have admitted the truth, which was she can play. She's incredible. It's incredible what she did at Iowa, and she's an incredible draw. You wouldn't have had this back and forth as much.
But even you're right from the beginning. I think it's a perfect way to describe it because from the beginning, what were we talking about? The hip checks, the fouls, the intentional fouls that were not called, right? Different things, because they're called post game. In retrospect, in hindsight, this was a flagrant, right? The failure to embrace the new fans baffles me. Simply because you would want to keep those eyeballs on your product and build and embrace literally anybody watching it. What do we think the percentage is of those that are arguing over ratings actually watch the WNBA on the weekend that are vouching for the ratings being higher? I doubt very, very, very many of these are doing that. I think Jemele Hill sitting in front of the TV watching, Sunday is the rating. You got sports TV ratings touting the ABC average 929,000. And again, you see what's last year. It's better than any of the finals games last year. And this is on Sunday. They're going head to head with the NFL, and the finals were as well. And you have Sunday night 654,000. Are they keeping some viewers? Yes, but they're telling other fans, "Yeah, you're not welcome here because you're a Caitlin Clark fan." In the same breath, there's like arguing on who can and can't watch or enjoy or be a fan of the product. It's weird. It's a lot like soccer was at one point. There was this club, and you weren't allowed in unless you were the diehard fan. We saw it here in Nashville when they had their MLS team granted into the league. There's a vibe that's off. I can't pinpoint exactly why that is, but ultimately they're missing out on continuing to build and grow the game, the sport. They're acting like it's about that. It's not. It's about Caitlin Clark versus blank. Who can name the teams that are actually remaining in the playoffs? We just saw two, Aces, Liberty. But that's my point, AJ Wilson's a known name.
Sun Links, because I see it on the
Sun Links, there you go.
Right there. That's how I know.
But
wouldn't have known otherwise.
Exactly. But it's not about the actual playoff product. It's about, do you or don't you agree that ratings are higher than last year? Okay, then we're doing the right thing. Or it's, Caitlin Clark left the playoffs, so ratings are down. Well, both are true. But there's no middle ground for whatever reason. And there's nothing that is actually building the WNBA product now.
And I also think
that
yes. And for the deniers out there about, it's not that big of a difference and she's not going to be that big of a draw and everything else. But you also, on the flip side, want to tout highest rated semifinals in 22 years.
Yes.
Then just the logical follow-up is, well, why? Do you think suddenly people that if Caitlin Clark wasn't a part of the league, that people would be that much more interested in Sun Links as opposed to the year before? I just admit what is so very obvious to people with a brain. Caitlin Clark's a gigantic superstar that has added a lot of heat to your league, and that's not a bad thing. And even when people tried to deny how good she was and what type of draw she was going to be, she's proven everyone wrong along the way. So go ahead and start admitting it now. Even if you were late to the party, it's never too late to go ahead and admit what most people knew from the beginning. Caitlin Clark is the draw of the WNBA, and as long as she's playing, ratings are going to be higher. When she's not playing, they're going to drop off. But if they drop off to a level that's the best in 22 years for your round of the playoffs, that's a good thing. So celebrate it if you're a part of the WNBA. Instead of committing flagrant fouls at a clip that's 17% of all the league's flagrant fouls committed against one player. That was Caitlin Clark this year. You can't tell me that's a coincidence. I'm sorry. It's not. So stop targeting her during the games also. She's helping your league compete, absolutely. 17% of flagrant fouls against one player? That weird to anybody else? It should be quite odd to the league office. And again, start acting big time and doing more about it when your star player has a flagrant foul committed against them. And it starts by banning nails. Ban fake nails. I'm going to stand on the soapbox forever. Ban the fake nails.
You also wearing a MAGA hat to the game?
Yeah.
For saying that?
Wouldn't want to
ban nails?
Wouldn't want to be too threatening. Wouldn't want to cheer too loud or with too deep of a voice that would come across as threatening to the opposing fans in the stands. I mean, come on. Give me a break. By the way, I support a nail ban on white players, black players, all races, across the board. This is not a racist stance.
This has happened in other sports.
I don't think you should be able to wear Wolverine claws during a game when facing an opponent.
I don't. Any opponent.
Yes.
Even, like in the NFL.
Yes. Any sport, across any sport.
We see this in multiple sports, but for whatever reason, you could like gouge the eye of a play. Again, I just asked, like, even as I don't know how I would dribble the basketball with long nails. There's the black eye. Suffered.
An accident.
Chad, segue here. So
total accident.
From WNBA.
Didn't even know what happened.
WNBA to NBA.
I can't feel anything. Have you seen this nail? I can't feel anything up here. I have no idea what it's hitting.
So did you see where Schefter is being mentioned as the replacement for Woj?
Yeah.
Does he not, like, he already has no life. Like, he lives that gig, no matter where he is, for the NFL insider, I'm saying. He's got 2-3 phones, right? He's constantly checking because he's always first. If he's not first, he's confirming something that Rappaport, the number is small on the NFL insiders. And now he's going to pick up on the NBA, potentially, where he is a diehard fan. He's like a huge fantasy basketball player. And he already has, so he's got 11.2 million followers on X. The next best is 6.5 by Woj. And ESPN's considering the idea, they're batting this around, of Schefter taking over that role. Imagine how busy you would be, so busy. What would you have time to do anywhere else in your life for what he's known for doing? Breaking every piece of news. You know what I mean? On 2 pro sports, the way Schefter goes at it. He's already paid $9 million a year.
So $9 million. That's what I was going to. So $9 million a year.
Currently.
Woj made $7 million a year. He walked away from $20 million left in his contract.
Rappaport makes 4.6
to be the GM of basketball at St. Bonaventure.
I say 4.6. That's how many followers he has. Sorry. Yes, you're right. He's the general manager of his alma mater.
Look, I'm a capitalist. I think people should, make what people are going to pay them and go right ahead and do that. But this is awfully greedy of Adam Schefter.
Well, he's being approached by it.
If you start a business, right, like if you're going to start a separate business based off of your celebrity or your popularity as a reporter, and you make a ton of money doing that, I can understand that. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around why Adam Schefter has to be the appointed newsbreaker of 2 different leagues, taking what could be $16 to $17 million a year. Instead of, I don't know, spreading the wealth a little bit and finding someone that works in the NBA currently to break news that could make $2 million a year and get 2 or 3 of them, and now you've got 2 or 3 more good reporters making $1 million or $2 million a year, as opposed to paying Adam Schefter $7 more million of Woj's money to be the guy. Like, I'm not some Schefter hater or anything about his work with the NFL or anything. I think he works hard. I'm fine with him making a lot of money and doing all that, but this just seems a little greedy. But if ESPN's going to do it, I don't know why you would say no if you're Adam Schefter.
Well, just the time-consuming element of it is of what he's currently doing. Like, Chad, let's just put ourselves. Anyone can put yourself in his role. You could be at dinner, you could be at church, literally anywhere, and he's got 2 or 3 phones that you're constantly checking because you're paranoid at any hour of the 24-hour day. You're paranoid about news happening, and you're the one that's putting it out. Now you're doing that for 2 different leagues, and he's clearly got connections in the NBA, otherwise he wouldn't be mentioned here. And he's being mentioned ahead of Brian Windhorst. I wrote down some names. You've got Windhorst, Ramona Shelburne, Mark Spears, Bobby Marks. Those are the employees that are still employed by ESPN, haven't been laid off. And then you've got Schefter, and you got Woj leaving, which was a shock. And he's great at what he does. Right? He's the Schefter of the NBA. And they're on that same shelf. Man, it's an interesting decision. And it was Peter King who once said that Schefter had a closet addiction to the NBA. Like as much as one of his phones was just NBA. Isn't that crazy?
I think it's such a weird. It's a very odd business decision for me. Okay, I'm not an executive that's at the level of making decisions like this. But if I'm the Disney Corporation and I'm a major shareholder of that corporation, and I'm really just taking a look at the books, I'm thinking, you're paying this guy almost $10 million a year. I understand the value of the NFL and what he brings from a news-breaking standpoint, but now the pitch is you want to give him a $7 million a year raise, and you already have these 4 accomplished NBA reporters on your payroll and staff, and they're making hefty salaries too. Here would be my proposal if I'm at a board meeting with Disney. I'd say, instead of just hold on for a second, instead of paying the $7 million to Adam Schefter and making him even more filthy rich, how about, I don't know, we pay the other 4 or 5 reporters $50,000 more a year or $100,000 more, save ourselves about $5.5 million, and allow those guys to compete against each other to break stories.
But they may do that ultimately. But Schefter could.
I hope they do. That's better business.
I mean, but you want the guy who's got all the contacts and the info. Whoever that's that role. That Woj was doing that. It wasn't Windhorst.
I don't think Schefter has to work for it anymore because people come to him.
Well, that's why you want that guy on your payroll,
right?
Or doing what he's doing. Woj wouldn't have to do that either.
Adrian Wojnarowski is fine. He's not some super savant that someone else can't take the reins and now be the guy that leaks text.
But you wait, there's only really 3 NFL insiders.
Right.
Right?
And
really,
I
truly that you check.
They've had to work to get to a certain point. But if you become the ESPN anointed newsbreaker, if Jonathan Hutton was now NBA newsbreaker, you would suddenly have all these texts, all these calls, all these emails at your disposal, and people would be coming to you. Agents would be coming to you to break news, to help them.
That's true, but even when Mortensen, was with ESPN, they still went out and hired Schefter away from NFL Network because he was breaking so much. You know what I mean? And then, Rappaport gets his fair share, too.
Yeah, but if Mortensen was that guy, if they had said, you're always going to be that guy, then I think Mortensen could have been the Schefter. If you have the Schefter or the Woj, then that makes it easier for, I'll just go to them because they have the most followers, and I'll get it out there. But the moment you get anointed the next guy, you're going to add so many followers. So that number could get, close to what these other guys were at.
But,
I don't know. I just think I'm all for talent making money, and I'm not trying to shut off the faucet of that happening. But I also think it's just a very odd decision if they decide to go that route.
But the counter would be CBS and the NFL Today. They anointed at one point Jason Lockenfora as their NFL insider. It wasn't like news was fed to their NFL Today insider. Jay Glazer does a great job with what he does. So does Rappaport and Schefter. But there's more to it than just, hey, I'm the guy, here's my phone number. Yeah. There's an art, there's a huge skill to it, but also the time invested is just what I'm fascinated with by Schefter. Have you seen the clip on Baker Mayfield, real quick, where it was Schefter that was reporting that he was going to be the number 1 pick by the Browns? And no one believed it. There wasn't much buzz about Baker at that point. And even his own dad, his father texted him and said, this is fake. This is fake news. It's not going to be Baker. And Schefter's on camera saying, this pissed me off so much that my own father would dare say that I had a story wrong. He was more focused on the story being right and trying to argue over the fact that it's going to be Baker. And sure enough, it was.
I've never heard that story.
And Baker's agent is on camera, even admitting, we weren't really hearing much buzz about the Browns wanting to draft us. But Schefter put that out there. It's fascinating to see how, I won't call it anger, just he was so irritated that his father would dare in a text message claim that he didn't have the right information. There's a addiction to that.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm fine with that in the NFL. Like, he's the NFL guy.
And he's got in his contract, I think, that he does.
I don't know
games.
that we need to anoint more power to Adam Schefter.
Maybe
he's got enough.
You think the NBA would do that?
I think the NBA will do whatever ESPN tells them to do in certain instances.
I think ESPN does that with like LeBron and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if ESPN announces you're the
NBA
guy,
does whatever LeBron wants.
Here's another good example: Pete Thamel in college football.
Yeah,
I don't think Pete Thamel's some special talent or exceptionally personable or great on air or anything like that. I think he's the reporter on College Game Day and the news reporter of college football on ESPN. And when you're put in that position, you get handed a ton of stories. So Pete Thamel can go on College Game Day or tweet out, this quarterback, Cam Rising, will not play later today. And he'll be the first one to get it out maybe an hour before the release is out, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't particularly – I think Adam Schefter works very hard. I think he's very good at what he does.
And recently he's been copy-pasting.
I think you're right. It's very, very time-consuming to just have to be by the phone at all times. I also don't watch a lot of these people and think, man, I wish I was that talented.
Well, I don't – just based on again, for every piece of news he's putting out there, he's getting slapped back from whoever that doesn't want that news out there. It's
what was the awful moment he had? He had a couple of them. Dwayne Haskins was the one tweet.
Yeah, but yes.
On his death, he announced how bad he was in the NFL at the same time.
Yes, which I believe there was another, Jeff Passan did that with Pete Rose this past week.
He gave kind of a poor apology about
but also
one of those things, I remember.
Copy and paste. You could tell it's copy and pasted straight from the agent on certain things. Yeah. But by and large, we're waiting on a trade for Davante Adams. It's going to come from, he's the one that's reporting to the Jets. Davante Adams, by the way, putting Edgar Allan Poe in his story randomly, connecting that to Baltimore. I mentioned yesterday the Ravens should go after him.
He's having a lot of fun. Guys that are faking injuries, that are trying to get traded, they can just really have a lot of time freeing up time to have fun on social media.
Both the Raven Nevermore.
I wonder what Raiders fans think about all this.
What do Buccaneers fans think about that fumble at the end of last night's game with 2.5 minutes to play?
What a game that was last night.
It was a great game. Baker played very well. So did Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins got a little mojo. Maybe does he have his groove back with what we saw? A fun night in Atlanta and a big win for the Falcons over a divisional rival on Thursday Night Football. Drake London, who he's wobbly getting up off the turf in the third quarter, or maybe it was a late second. And I'm thinking, he's concussed. They've just knocked him out, a personal foul. And then somehow he gets back in the game. And he goes on to make a big catch, sets up a field goal. Well done by Atlanta. And Kirk Cousins, maybe we're starting to see them get on a roll here, Chad.
First off, those uniforms, never changed them.
The red helmets.
Red helmets, the number, the font of the numbers on here's the picture of Kirk Cousins. The uniform is beautiful. Kirk Cousins swag surfing after the game.
Love it.
That final throw I thought was going to be intercepted. That ended up going for a touchdown. What a nice comeback for Kirk Cousins in this game. And now both teams 3-2, them and Tampa after this game. Really entertaining game on Thursday night. An example, and I thought Al Michaels had some pretty good energy in the game also.
Yeah, I did too. I was thinking that too.
This was an example of a year or two ago, Tampa and Atlanta in an NFC South matchup on a Thursday night would have led to a lack of energy from Al Michaels. And this is a good example that even Tampa and Atlanta in the NFC South can give us some of the most entertaining NFL football we've seen this year. In a season so far that I don't think has been particularly good from an entertainment standpoint, that was awesome last night. Very impressive.
A game that hit the over.
Yes.
And Chad, you hit the over for your fantasy league. You were wanting to know if Mike Evans is going to play. We discussed this yesterday. One big thing. Not only does he play, he balls out touchdown-wise.
Let me tell you about my night. So I was going from a homecoming parade at my daughter's school and driving. I was changing while driving into shorts and a T-shirt.
Changing while driving?
To catch, I was stopped at a light. To just not,
Any head turners?
Not completely. My daughter was laughing at me because I had to take my shirt off, and she was laughing at me shirtless.
Like Christmas Vacation with the
Thanks
car pulling up next to you?
Thanks a lot, Evie. Yeah, there was none of that. I wasn't like flexing for the the mom in car line next to me. But changing from the homecoming parade to the softball pitching lesson, and I text Hutton upon arriving at the softball pitching lesson, is Mike Evans playing? This is probably 40 minutes before the game kicked. And Hutton informed me, yes, he's playing. And then a little bit later, he's already scored 2 touchdowns. So when I saw that after pitching lessons, I was very, very excited.
Yes. I had anytime touchdown score for Drake London as well. He scores on the opening possession. Falcons look really good. Their defense, suspect. Last night, suspect as well for the Buccaneers secondary that is without Antoine Winfield. But they're going to play each other again within a month, and then that's it.
I hate that.
I do too. Bucks have the Saints now coming up. Saints will play on Monday, then have the Bucks on a short week. And the Falcons have the Panthers. So a chance for a rebound with Tampa, a chance for the Falcons, who didn't look great to open the season. Kind of like the Ravens. You know, they get a game ahead now. Ravens have the Bengals.
It's a good appetizer for the NFL weekend when you get a great Thursday night game like that one last night.
And now we have London as well. London calling.
Oh, London town.
Vikings and Jets.
Barrel Boy and Baker Pub.
Amazing. Barrel Boy and Baker, by the way, is where Chad and I hosted a previous show live in London. And we had the setup that the connection was set up. Shout out Phil Noel and Brad Wills. Literally maybe 5 minutes before we went on air, live from London.
Yeah.
And we'd been promoting this for like 2 months.
We didn't think it was going to happen.
Could not get it.
And they got it connected, and we had no issues.
None.
We had Eddie George live on that show, Keith Bullock.
Javon Curse was
live.
There was
with us.
oh man, who was the guy? Manawa, Jimmy Manawa from the UFC, who drove or took.
Somehow I got an email about and set it up. Hutton's the UFC guy, and Hutton said, "Yes, we need to book this guy." And I remember I was having to text with the British agent.
Yes.
That he had to give her directions to drive him in, to drop him off at the front of this place. We were right at the foot of one of the big bridges in London.
Yes.
Because I remember walking over that huge bridge to go to this pub.
This man, Jimmy Manawa, has a mallet tattooed on his chest or something.
Yeah.
And he could not have been the coolest dude. He waited like an extra hour, shows up by himself, took the train or whatever, and got there early, but he lives like 2 hours away, right?
He lived in a country estate.
I was
somewhere
stunned. I was
London.
stunned about how cool they were there with the NFL. They love the NFL.
I want to go back to London badly.
You want to go watch the Jags game?
I was there for about 52 hours, I think, is in total when we were there for the game. Was not long. 3 nights? 2 nights. Got there on a Friday.
Flew back Monday?
I flew back Monday morning, so I guess 3 nights.
You want to go watch the Jags there? It could be windless.
I don't want to go watch the Jags anywhere, so no.
I agree.
I'll watch the Vikings and the Jets there if you'd like to. Should we take off now?
Let's go.
Just head to London? Great time of year to go to London.
Roger's not having a good time there.
Fall in London? It's terrific.
He wants Davante Adams as soon as possible. Aaron Rodgers broke his silence on the potential reunion, by the way, on this. Quote, "I don't know how much I can say about it. There's tampering. I still have a close relationship with him. When we spend time in the offseason together, he's a great guy, great player, and the rest is out of my hands." That from Aaron Rodgers to the media. There you go. On Davante Adams.
Yeah, a lot of people want Davante Adams. Davante Adams wants to be anywhere but Vegas, apparently.
And Vegas has Denver this week. They've won 8 straight games over the Broncos. They've got a total chaos going on there beneath the surface. You've got Antonio Pierce, who's liking posts about Davante Adams no longer being there. Adams has finally voiced his displeasure to the point where he's, not going to hate the idea of being traded. And Antonio Pierce, it comes out this week, he's got an 8-year show cause stemming from college football for the NCAA and his time at Arizona State, where during the COVID year, we're familiar with the sanctions there based on what's happened with Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. During that same time frame, Antonio Pierce is hosting parties, recruits on campus, giving tours, even taking some of the parents of said recruits to strip clubs, gentlemen's clubs. I'm thinking, well, I mean, People go there all the time.
Well, this doesn't.
Parents.
This doesn't surprise me.
And it's on his dime, so I guess he's making it rain there for the parents.
The one thing that surprises me is the term in plural, parents.
Parents.
Not dads. Like, did he take the dad and the mom to a strip club together? You see what I'm saying?
You're picking. That's great.
When I saw parents, I'm thinking, taking like the former football playing dad that you played against, because they had some former NFL player sons. So taking them out on an Arizona State funded titty bar excursion, that doesn't really surprise me, right? But parents. Like parents weekend, like, hey, we're going to go see study hall. I'll show you where your kids will eat in the dining hall. And then we're going to go to Scottsdale to a strip club after that. Meet back here for a shuttle to the strip club at 11 p.m. I have us a VIP set up there. Yeah. And the moms are like, oh, that sounds awesome. Let's go.
Let's go. We're going for the food.
Yeah, like if it was a group of...
Champagne room.
I'm not condoning this as a college coach that you should be doing this, but I would at least somehow comprehend it if it was a group of dads that got together with Antonio Pierce because they had a dudes weekend and brought their sons to a college campus and then said goodbye to their sons and then went to the strip club with Antonio Pierce. But parents? Plural?
Also,
who are these parents?
During the COVID sanctions, that we got businesses wide open, apparently.
Right.
Good. But, like,
parents I know of college kids on a visit are looking forward to getting up and having the continental breakfast the next morning. Not going to VIP in a strip club with Antonio Pierce.
I'll take the oatmeal with...
This is, to me, where details matter in a story. I need to know details about why this happened. Also, who snitched? Who would be the snitch on this one? And why snitch on Antonio Pierce for this? Antonio Pierce is kind enough to take you to a strip club.
Was it Cinnamon or Jasmine
and pay for it?
Who snitched?
And you're going to snitch on him to the NCAA, of all people?
What if someone from the NCAA was also there and noticed it?
If I'm Antonio Pierce, I'm reading this and saying, boy, there's really no honor left in America. Someone told on me for this? Goodness, I thought we were
Antonio Pierce made business decisions that night, Chad.
Clearly. Parents, plural.
The majority of these violations, this is from the NCAA, stem from a scheme in which Pierce and other members of the football staff and booster arranged, the booster also arranged this, unofficial visits to the school for roughly 1 year. During those visits, which occurred over 15 weekends, this is just part of the tour, I guess, Chad, is the club. 35 prospects and their families. Pierce arranged or personally provided free meals, apparel, airfare, lodging for 27 prospects, often in collaboration with the booster, and then went on to say, in addition to violating the dead period rules, the meals and entertainment, which included taking a prospect's parents to a gentleman's club, and then travel expenses were also taken care of, to a gentleman's club. We need details on the gentleman's club. Gentleman's club, doesn't that mean you have to, it's not fully nude?
I've never heard that.
Versus?
I've never once heard that. I think it's just by the state laws. Okay. I think gentleman's club is just another word for strip club. I don't think there's any differentiation between strip club and gentleman's club. Okay. I think they just try to church it up by calling it a gentleman's club. There's nothing gentlemanly happening in these places. Yeah,
that's right. Just parents, very gentlemanly.
I'm sure that, you get someone's mom around and they might be on their best behavior, though. Antonio Pierce knew that. That's why he invited both sets of parents.
Do you think now that he's the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, it's instead of the Gentleman's Club, it's the Bunny Ranch that he takes?
I don't think that any Raiders fans care at all about this story with their head coach.
No. I don't think Antonio Pierce
given their history in that city, I don't think they care at all that he took parents to the strip club.
Over 15 weeks.
It would be encouraged in Vegas.
And then I think he landed 8 of those prospects by helping recruit them.
About 1,000.
I know.
With those prospects.
I know.
If you've got a mom and a dad ready to go to the strip club with you, I feel like the deed is done. That kid's coming to Arizona State.
You know what? I'll sign right now.
You know what, Antonio? You're right.
Blood oath.
This is the place for Junior.
Blood oath.
I knew the moment I met you and saw this campus and the moment you invited me to the strip club that Arizona State is the program for little Timmy, for Junior.
Yes.
This
is where he will develop into a man.
He'll be here all 4 years. I want you to mold him into the man we see before ourselves right now.